Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50-plus years. Let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales, a Nassau Community College Foundation production on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Aurora Workman. I am the president of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. I am here with my friend and co-host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, a proud graduate of Nassau Community College, and together we'll share stories that will inspire, uplift, and often amuse you.
Each week, Aurora and I will introduce you to alumni of Nassau Community College interested in sharing their experience here at Nassau Community College, along with the secrets to their success.
Now, I know out here we are Jets fans, but now we are true fans of the Carolina Panthers because the Nassau Community College transfer in the NFL, the tight end Ian Thomas transferred to Indiana after Nassau Community College and was drafted by the Carolina Panthers. So we say, go Lions.
Yeah.
Yay.
Look for many new and exciting events on the Alumni Association social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and our web pages at www.nassaucommunitycollege.edu/alumni. If you, our listening audience, has any positive news you would like to share about Nassau Community College alumni, engagements, births, graduations, weddings, and/or accolades, email us at alumni@nassaucommunitycollege.edu, and we will shout you out.
Well, today's guest is Lawrence R. Engel. We call him Larry, and he's a retired Internal Revenue Service Specialist with the U.S. Department of the Treasury. He's a proud alum of Nassau Community College and also a current advisory board member of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. And Larry is the class of 1984. Welcome to Lion Tales.
Thank you, Aurora.
So we're going to jump in because, you know, when everyone sits there and wants to know, how do you make it through life being an IRS revenue officer?
Yeah.
You know, we hear all these things, and here we have, you know, Nassau Community College puts out a lot of different folks, and yes, we do have Internal Revenue Service officers. So he's retired, but we're going to find out some things about how that job went and everything that has to do with it. Mm-hmm. So, Larry, so you conducted investigations for delinquent federal taxes. What is that about?
I was literally a tax collector. I got investigations regarding people who should have filed and didn't, or should have paid and didn't. And it was my job to bring them into compliance civilly by looking for their assets, possibly working out payment plans, enforcing collection by levy if I had to, and just making certain that if they have a tax problem today, that they won't have it in the future.
I don't like that. I heard the president didn't pay.
So you were selected as a National Office Instructor for Internal Revenue Service Collections employees from 1976 to 2011. So does that mean that you trained all of those IRS folks, or what does that mean?
Not all of them. The IRS is very decentralized. We have offices in many, many states, many, many counties. And as a result, when people are hired, they have to be given a standardized training. And they would bring the new hires to local offices, such like the Brookhaven IRS office, the large office, and then the instructors would come, and we came from all over the country, and we would run the formal classroom training. Then the people would go back to their offices for on-the-job training.
Wonderful. So are you popular at dinner parties?
You know, it's everybody has a story. When you tell them that you work for the IRS, there's always somebody that's going to come up and say, "Oh, well, I had this situation. I had that situation."
I just told you that.
It is one of, you know, when we talk about a lot of the careers and opportunities that folks have out there. So as a career opportunity, how would you tell a student what is the best perks, or what is
Okay, well, IRS employees are employees of the executive branch of the federal government.
Yes.
They are protected under civil service law. They have benefits, including life insurance and health insurance, and they contribute toward their insurances, but they have pensions. They're covered under Social Security. And it's a job that may not necessarily require a very, very specialized education. When I was hired, I had been a salesman previously, and they said to me, well, that's good because you know how to institute contact with people. Because my job as IRS, I had to go out in the field and institute contact. So at that point, I was still going to school. I hadn't finished my degrees. But when I attended Nassau and got my business administration degree, I then went over to SUNY Old Westbury and got a degree in finance, which was really dovetailed into my job. It was very helpful.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, one thing I really don't know how to do is to prepare taxes. I'm learning a little bit more about it because even working with your own accountant, they try to sort of give you information about it, and if you can help other people do it. Some people are great at it, and they know how to prepare taxes, or they know certain rules.
Well, we were not permitted to prepare taxes for compensation, but we could do returns for our own family members, things like that. But we had to be familiar with tax law, and in many cases, not just preparation of taxes, because we did not do audits. The department that I was in was strictly delinquent accounts, collection, that kind of thing. We were sort of after the audit, but yes, it's an important part of our society.
Yes,
and it's important that people are mindful of their tax obligations and how to file.
Yeah, and when we just had the government shutdown, which affected all of those IRS employees because that was federal government.
Yes, that could have been me, but I'm tired.
But no.
We have a lot of students who are not just students but parents, and I know from my own children, and I say, well, let's look at how you need to approach tax. And so as a person, how important it is tax financial planning. I mean, we have financial literacy, we have all this, but really doing their taxes from the first year of college,
right. For the most part, people who are wage earners in the U.S. Should have the proper amount of taxes withheld from their paychecks, and that's the ideal situation where someone who is working for wages has the taxes taken out, and when they file their tax return, they get a refund. It may not be a huge refund, but at least they know that their taxes have been prepaid, and there's no concern.
Right.
The problem goes though to people who are self-employed, who have no source of withholding and are supposed to pay into the system 4 times a year.
Okay, well, we're going to talk to you more about those folks. I think I used to be in that area. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I am Aurora Workman, along with Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Larry Engel, a former revenue officer with the U.S. Department of Treasury. So we were talking, he was letting us know about how important, like as students, because I know I was not financially astute at that time, and now when I get a student job, and I know my daughter gets a student job, we don't put any, dependents or and so then next thing you know, someone who has a student aid job is owing taxes.
That's right. What they really should do is put down single 1 or single 0 and no extra withholding, because no extra exemptions, I should say. Otherwise, they'll be under withheld at the end of the tax year, and then they're going to have to pay.
And so in order to even file a tax return, you have to make over $12,000 a year. Is that correct?
I believe that's the minimum today. It's it's a relatively small thing, but my grandson, he's in college now.
Yes.
He worked at a beach club all summer.
Yeah.
And he just got a W-2. His income was maybe $4,000, but they took taxes out, so he files just to get a refund.
Right, just to get those taxes back.
Even though he only made the $4,000.
Well, but they took the money out, so he's entitled to get it back.
That's good to know too, to make sure that students become responsible for that.
That's why I think that it's really important that as alumni, so if we have the mentors in our Association who are Nassau Community College grads and who do come back to the school to give back and to help educate, students and everyone else who's around. So that's kind of good to know. So as we have, let's talk about some awards, because you have over the years have had many. Now we were talking about you received the Albert Gallatin Award from the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury in 2009.
Albert Gallatin.
Albert Gallatin was the Secretary of the Treasury under the Abraham Lincoln administration and helped to finance a good bit of the Civil War. He was, I guess, a pioneer in taxation. We didn't really have an income tax.
Are we still paying that back?
I don't know. But it was something that was presented to me when I retired, and I have it at home, and I'm very proud of it to have had.
That is exciting. Yeah. And then SUNY Old Westbury, you were the Alumnus of the Year in 2002.
Yes, Actually, this is a little bit backwards. I was SUNY Old Westbury in 2002 and Nassau in 2015.
Oh, that's great.
I actually was on the original alumni board that was founded here at Nassau in 1985, and I have been consistently a member of that board right until today. So it's 34 years, I believe. Mm-hmm. And having been president of the Alumni Association as well in the 90s, so I've been always interested in alumni affairs, both at the community college and at the SUNY four-year school. I've always felt that alums are, and this is a quote from Dr. Sean Finelli, former president here,
yes.
Alums are success stories.
Yes,
he used to talk
true.
In terms of having alums come back and mentoring and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I kind of felt that I wanted to try to do that as much as I could.
Yeah, right. And was that the vision? So when you all founded the Alumni Association, was that the vision to come back to be the success story?
I think so, absolutely. And Dr. Finelli actually took part of that, because he was the one who sent the notices out to, 50,000 grads at that time, or however many it was. And we had a network then that started with people coming back. This is way before social media. It was so, and we had elections, and that's how we got started. And then we just went from there.
And I think it's so important too, because all of the guests that we've had on the show so far, again, they're doing such interesting things in the world, and they all started here at Nassau Community College. So to bring that back and to inspire other students to, pursue their dream here and then continue is something that we feel is very important to continue.
Right. And I'm hoping that, with everything that we do, and especially the guests that have been here, all have shown an interest to come back and give back to the students, because in some factor, I tell people Nassau Community College changed the trajectory of my life.
Yes.
And a lot of folks... A lot of folks are thinking about it and saying things about it. I thought my ears were going to pop off. So excuse me.
I'm like, what is this noise that we're hearing? It's the IRS.
So it's a lot of times that we do, and we know that coupled with retention efforts, that the Alumni Association is an important piece for any growing institution.
It's true. It's true, and I think too that experience. A lot of students today have a lot of doubts and worries and concerns, and they think that nobody else has ever experienced it the way they have when it comes to going to college. And yet, if they speak to someone who's been there, or somebody who's been through the whole process, they can get a lot of information and feel better about their own situation.
Yeah, and somehow it always works out. You were listening to Lion Tales. Today's guest, a current advisory board member of Nassau Community College Alumni Association and a retired IRS Internal Revenue Service officer. My name is Lynnda Nadien, along with Aurora Workman, on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back to Lion Tales, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm your host, Dr. Lynnda Nadien, along with Aurora Workman, and our guest today is Larry Engel, graduate of Nassau Community College and former Internal Revenue Service officer. So, in terms of professional licenses, you're enrolled and as an agent and for the U.S. Department of the Treasury. And then in 2013, you're authorized to represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service. So what are some of the most challenging cases that you've had to handle?
I recall having a case on a person who was a stockbroker, self-employed, and who was practicing his occupation on the floor of the American Stock Exchange in New York City. And he had a considerable debt to the IRS just because he had earned a considerable amount of money in prior years and hadn't paid in any taxes. And I tried contacting him, and he just didn't want to talk to me, or he would put me off. So I knew that he owned what we call a seat on the American Stock Exchange. It's a membership, and it has value. It can be sold, it can be, conveyed. I prepared the papers, had my manager sign them, took another revenue officer with me, drove into Manhattan, and went right to the legal department of the American Stock Exchange and served papers on them to seize this seat. And the guy said to me, "Look out the window. There's a glass window looking down on the trading floor." Security guards went right up to this individual and picked him up and escorted him right off the floor at that point in time. He was completely shut down by the exchange because of what we did. He had a debt of over $500,000, and it got paid in 3 days.
Wow!
Now this is months of me trying to get him to do what he had to do.
And do you find that people in sort of the finance aspect of careers end up paying the most taxes because they're making the most money, or celebrities end up making the most?
It's not even a matter, because again, if you're on some kind of withholding, the withholding is equal to your income. It's it's based upon how much you make. That's what they're going to withhold. The most people that had problems with me were self-employed types, attorneys, CPAs, dentists, anybody who gets their income and it's not subject to withholding. And if they don't make in the required payments during the tax year, they're going to have a balance. And then they try to extend it, and it just doesn't work. We have to be able to get them current. And then that's the other thing. I had the authority to give installment agreements, and I did, but I wanted to make sure that the current taxes were being provided for, and then and the future taxes.
Yeah. What are some of the IRS myths that you've heard that hold no truth?
That the people that work for the IRS are all a bunch of malcontents, and they just like making people miserable, and that's ridiculous. I mean, it's like any other job. I had a lot of people actually, after I dealt with them, thank me. I didn't know I could do it this way. For instance, just getting on withholding tax is it's not that difficult, but or adjusting the tax withheld to a proper amount. Maybe they had too much taken, or not enough, I should say, not enough taken out. The job had a certain, we were obligated to protect the interests of the United States. That was our primary function. So we did have to keep that in mind. We were not able to, we had a lot of guidelines that we must follow, and we had management approval of a lot of stuff that we did. We were not allowed to just work independently. We had specific cases assigned to us and could only work those cases and none other, so that they watched us, and that's fine. That's just the way it should be.
And then how many cases were you able to really settle, like in a year? Let's say in 1 year. Did you have a goal?
At any given point in time, I may have had maybe 50 or 60 taxpayers. Now, some could have been businesses, and others could have been individuals. But I could say probably a good 65% of them would get resolved within a year. You know, some you just couldn't. People were just so behind, and they had so much debt, and they had no real way. You know, I've advised people when to file bankruptcy, because they had so much debt. You know, that I knew I couldn't collect it, and that way at least they get a new start. You know.
And what's a good way for people to organize the paperwork? You know, as it gets closer to filing, you know, before rushing for April 15th or you know, getting hysterical over that date and everyone's at the post office. I mean, what can you do to make sure you have all the paperwork? How would you know?
In today's society, there are a number of tax preparation software that has been developed. I can think of TurboTax is one, H&R Block, and there are a few others. I would suggest that somebody, you know, invest $50, $60 and get one of their kits, one of those kits, because they lead you right through the tax return.
Yes.
And unless you feel more comfortable paying a professional, such as a CPA, to do your tax returns. But that's for the average wage earner. You don't really need a CPA. You could actually do it unless you just don't want to know. You know, there are some people that they're just.
And unless I think if you have like a really complicated return, you know, sometimes there are things that are added on. If let's say you have one job, but you have a second job and you made a little bit of extra money, but that also has to be included in the return. I think that's also.
And there's a lot of things. There are depreciation is something that taxpayers can use if they're in a business situation where self-employed. You know, a dentist who outfits his office with equipment and stuff like that. He has certain deductions that he can take over time and depreciate those assets and reduce his tax income balance. Somebody like that really should have a CPA.
That's why cash only, right?
It's always amazing how you always hear, like you see on sitcoms, and I love, you know, it's the way they portray IRS officers is coming out of behind the shadows and counting, oh, that's a car, that costs this, and this is this, and, you know, the finding out. So how do you find out income of those who...
Well, again, I'm not required to do an audit where I'd have to verify somebody's income unless I come out with a tax bill and he says I can't pay it all right now.
Right.
Well, then I need to get financial information and I need to verify that. And if I find an account or something, an asset that I found a taxpayer had a house in the Poconos that was worth $250,000 and he didn't disclose it at all on the financial statements. You know. I can't tell you what happened to him, but it was not. You know, that's what I had to do. I had they used to say with the Russians, trust but verify.
Yes,
and that's exactly
Ronald Reagan,
what I had to do.
Yeah, trust and verify.
You have to know because people do crazy things.
We do. You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Aurora Workman, along with Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Larry Engel, a current advisory board member of Nassau Community College Alumni Association, former president of the Alumni Association, and a retired Internal Revenue Officer. So we were just finished talking about some of the cases that you've had to handle and being involved in the world of taxes and things. When you were here at Nassau, were you already working with the IRS, or
yes,
you were?
I was.
Oh, okay.
I was. I had started with the IRS in '72. I guess I was here. When did I graduate? I forgot already.
There's a lot of people like you who are working and come back. You're 84.
I came here in the evening. Okay, I'd come in the evening and we have to work. Matter of fact, my office was right around the corner here at one point. The
IRS
107 Charles Lindbergh.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yes.
Was Roy Rogers here? The restaurant?
I don't recall. I
Because as an evening person, you came to class and then went off campus.
Oh, actually, I came right from work right here, and then went home and had a late supper.
So when you came here, was it inside of looking at other positions in your organization?
No,
or something you wanted to do?
I had been to college right after high school. I graduated high school in 1965, and I went away to college, and I didn't do well. I was more of a party guy, so I left college, and at that point I decided that I wanted to become a little bit more responsible, and turns out I got married, and that was the best thing that ever happened, because now I'm a prospective parent and a spouse, and so my job with IRS I remember having to get a minimum amount of accounting credits, that's why I came to Nassau, and then I just stayed here and got the associate degree because it was so convenient.
Right.
And there were finance courses, there were writing courses, there were things that I could use in my work, and not just accounting. I mean, I had accounting as well. So I really kind of enjoyed. I did enjoy. That's why I stayed here.
Well, name some of the professors that you remember.
I remember Dr. Jack Schwartzman, who was I remember he was a tall man. We had white hair, like kind of wavy white hair, and he was English, but he had a tremendous way of motivating people to write, to do their best, to be really responsible. I remember the first paper I gave him, he tore it apart. Yeah. Tore it apart. It was red marks all over it. Oh, yeah. But I kept at it, and I kept revising things as I went. And by the time I finished, I think I had an A from him. I don't remember exactly, but I learned a lot from him. He was a refugee from World War II. His family had escaped the Nazis and got to the United States. He was a very, very tremendous man, and he was here many, many, many years. I'm sure he's deceased now. Jack Schwartzman.
And Nassau Community College has the way of letting, each student has that professor that it wasn't just about the classwork. It helped broaden their own life applicable, instructions were given, and we were able to grow not just inside that wall, but from outside. Right. And a lot of guests have told us, and I can testify to myself that being here on this campus opened up a lot of avenues for me, introduced me to people I've never met, foods that I've never tasted, friends that I've never had, and some things that I should never have done. But it really was eye-opening and developing. So I'm so glad that, I had my time here. Well, I'd like to thank you, Larry Engel, for being with us today, former president of the Alumni Association. So I'm in great company. And, we're looking forward to the things you're doing. You're still current advisory board and on all of your schools, right?
Well, yeah.
So those are some wonderful things to do. So we just thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me. I really, what do they used to say? Where success starts?
Yes.
I don't know if that's still in the...
Success begins.
Success begins, yeah. That's the way I feel about
that.
Success begins.
Where success begins. Yeah, success starts. So we thank you for coming, and we hope to sit there and, we'll see you at one of our meetings.
Oh, yes.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, along with my fabulous friend Aurora Workman, president of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. The creative director of Lion Tales is Rudy J. Breedy. This show is a production of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association. Visit nassaucommunitycollege.edu/WHPC for more information. Available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. Lion Tales is powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College. 90.3 WHPC. We'll see you next week.